luck. Sharpshooter and gridiron greats. Hardcore and D's, don't you underestimate. We got skill, we above the rest. Check out production, we pass the test. Every game produced with live commentary. A few of these guys on the sticks is just scary. College football, Twitch at its finest. Levels to the shit, and we on the highest.
What's going on, guys?
Welcome everybody.
Some Wednesday night G12 action. We got, I believe it's Indiana coming into Columbus, right, Pirate?
That's right. We got number four Ohio State taking on Indiana. It looks like they're 6-4 on the year. We've already seen them play Burt, who beat them. It wasn't a lopsided victory, but definitely a well in hand victory. Should be a pretty simple game for Baker as long as he just executes. Hopefully he can work on a few things, get a couple extra kids in. Indiana, they're just an average team. I mean, Baker's got their stats up on his screen right now. They're 45th in the country in points scored, 90th in the country in points allowed. They basically score 28 a game, give up 28 a game. So they're as middle of the road, average, 50-50 as you can be. They are 5-2 in the Big Ten. That's pretty impressive for an Indiana team. But they're 6-4 overall, which isn't great.
Yeah, I'm expecting I don't know about a big win. Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, Ravens fan and Baker kind of similar offenses, right? They kind of just run the ball, stay conservative, do the read option, running up the middle with those running backs. I feel like Baker opens it up a little more than Ravens fan.
He does. He opens it up a little more, and especially if he gets in trouble, he really resorts to, some pretty simple. Kind of what we all do, that roll out to the right, try to hit a crossing route or hit somebody deep or run with Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Baker has to keep the game close or have a lead, or he's going to be in trouble. I feel like Ravens fans kind of in the same boat. I haven't seen Ravens fan play great in user games yet. Now he did beat Coach Brian, which was an impressive win, which becomes more impressive as time goes on. Coach Brian continues to roll and has great wins week after week. So the better Coach Brian plays, the better Ravens fan looks. But not to talk too much about Ravens fan, but I mean, I think Baker, it's been a long time since he had a user game. He had user games the first 2 weeks of the year, and he hasn't had one since. He hasn't really been challenged other than the Wisconsin game, and he did not look good at all in that game. So a lot of questions still up for Baker and this number 4 Ohio State team for sure.
So is this his last game before the Michigan game then?
Yeah, he's 6-1 in conference right now. This should be it.
Mac Dub and Baker, thank you for those subs.
And Baker's ready to kick off, it looks like, whenever we are. So we're just kind of watching here. I'm not sure exactly when he's going to kick off. I can't hear him, but I am watching his stream. He's sitting at the loading screen. And now we can see him. So Baker's looking good. He made a couple questionable color choices here. I'm a big fan of, if you're a redheaded guy, you don't wear red hats and you don't wear red shirts. It really... When your skin and your hair and your shirt and your hat are all the same color, it's not a great look. So mix it up with at least one off color. Now, his shirt's a little bit off, but still, it's a lot of red on red on red. So he's already, I like to say that there's, 4 phases of the game. There's offense, defense, special teams, and the coin toss. For Baker, there might be a 5th phase of the game, which is avoiding the red on red on red. The only way it would have worked is if he somehow could have got red on red uniforms for Ohio State. Then I would have given him some extra points if he could have somehow pulled that off. But does Ohio State have an alternate helmet? I think I've seen a black helmet.
I don't think they I know they don't have black jerseys in this game.
I know it's not in this game. I just mean in general. They
they
have
black helmets.
They don't have any. It's either silver or black, right? They don't have a red helmet that you've ever seen.
They've worn a red helmet before, like once. It was a throwback. I think it had a gray stripe down the middle.
Oh, nice.
I think those are actually in this game.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so maybe we could get a red on red situation for Baker and really offend everyone. So Baker starts off the game with a kickoff return. He's one of the better kickoff return guys, but this time he actually gets stopped inside the 20. That's not a great start for Baker compared to what he normally is able to do. And Indiana comes out really with the box loaded there. If you see that, they got everybody up inside the box, and he still continues to run. Trey Sermon
Nice
picks up
cut.
7.
Yeah, they had that side of the field loaded too. He made the right read there, cut it right up the middle.
And it looks like he's going to go to play action early, which Baker runs more play action than anybody. And he really doesn't have that great of luck with it, but he does off the bat here. He hits his tight end for a great completion. Baker coming out fast. He's going no huddle right off the jump. Gonna get a little, looks like read option. Makes a nice read. He's got some blockers, so Baker's marching. Of course, his controller died, so we're off to a good start there.
Luckily, we haven't had any controller issues since, knock on wood. I remember, what was that, week 1 or 2? I think that was Coach Brian, his controller went out.
Brian and Coach Sharpshooter in their user game. Brian doesn't make excuses, but I'll make an excuse for him that he probably would have beat Sharpshooter if his controller would have been working. So
yeah, the whole gameplay changed after that.
And another good scramble with Fields. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of how much Baker runs Fields. I think when he's got a decent drop off in my opinion from his 1 to his 2 quarterback.
Yep.
And he runs him a lot, and he's got those big workhorses, and really, in my opinion, he ought to be taking advantage of Fields' throwing ability.
And the wide receiver corps on this team is loaded, like a lot of really good talent.
Yeah, for sure. He's got those great running backs, and he's got great receivers. I mean, if you're going to use Fields, use him downfield, don't get him hit so much. But and just kind of a goofy run there. I actually thought he didn't pick up the first down, but it looks like he barely got across the line. So got a 1st and 10 here. And Baker's gone away from the no huddle. I thought maybe we'd see it this whole drive, but it looks like he's slowing his pace just a little bit.
And you mentioned the drop-off from QB 1 to 2. I'm running them in another online dynasty, and Fields keeps getting hurt. And it's a huge Gunnar Hoke, I think, is a 78 overall. There's a really good freshman quarterback. I'm guessing he redshirted him too. Mm-hmm. But since we're not doing a second season, he should put him in. CJ Stroud, he can run.
And he could burn that red shirt anytime
if
he wanted to. So
there's no reason now that we're not carrying over.
And Trey Sermon with a big run isn't quite able to bust in. The play before that, Master T got bottled up pretty good. But, this is about what I expected. Indiana's providing some token resistance. We'll see how Baker's defense looks, but this drive's worked well. And they've really got the box stacked here, and probably should have thrown on that play. But live to get another down here, and we'll see what they do. It looks like he's going to continue trying to run.
Option, yeah.
And this one's just going to be a straight handoff. The box isn't quite as loaded, but the guy breaks right through. The defense is really stiffening up here, so we'll see what they can come up with on 3rd down. It's now 3rd down from the 5. It's probably time to see what you can do through the air. Hardcore had some interesting stats. I might try to pull him up here to look at later in the game. But in his blog, he had some interesting, but he doesn't get in. He doesn't quite get in.
He got really lucky right there. He snuck past that DE.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
So here we go, 4th and goal from the 1 here. He's going.
Hope he doesn't get too cute. And they've really got the box loaded, so he may try to audible into a play action. He doesn't. He gives it to his fullback, which is almost a guarantee. So, 100%. Not as pretty down the stretch, but
got the points.
Got it done. I was just trying to pull up that blog of Hardcore's, but he talks about some of the goal line or the red zone conversion percentages and stuff that I thought was pretty interesting.
No, I took a lot of note of that because I have the worst out of the users, I think.
Yeah, it looks like you're 80%.
Yep.
Ohio State 94%. That's what I was trying to look up. So That's
Someone's at
these
like
are
90. Isn't someone at 98? Like Mac, I think.
I
think Mac was really high.
So it's funny. So hardcore because he doesn't know how to do math. He says
Baker.
compared to number one Oklahoma at 91%. Number 2 is South Carolina at 94. Clemson is number 3 at 98. So I don't know how 91 is higher.
He's going by rankings. He's going by number 1 Oklahoma, number
Just
2.
going top 5. Okay, yeah. I got you. So Clemson 98%. That's incredible. And as I actually expected, Notre Dame's only at 87%. He's really struggled inside, especially against teams like Purdue and Texas early in the season. He really struggled to punch it in. Mac Dub at 97%. That's incredible.
And Baker in chat, damn straight 100% success rate.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Ronnie Scott, Stevie Scott.
And I'm curious to see what Baker does here on defense. If he, it looks like he's playing the defensive end now. I usually try to avoid playing players that have a star on them. I usually think the computer is going to do better than I will on them. Baker reads the screen really well. Doesn't tackle very well, but he did read the play. So he struggled with that over the last couple weeks because I don't think he's been getting a lot of offline dynasty time. And I think when you go away from the game for a while, those screenplays are hard to recognize. The more you play, the more frequently you're getting the reps in, the more you recognize those screenplays. Indiana continues to march. They're across midfield now. They're picking up their plays like they want. And they're running this no huddle. And the quarterback breaks contain, ends up getting looks like about 20 yards before they're finally able to take him down. So,
and he's good. He's good in real life too.
Michael Penis Jr.
Grow up, Pirate.
No way. I gotta tell you a story in a little bit. It's a second half story though. We'll see. We'll wait till the true fans. Well, there's 2 reasons why we're waiting. 1, I want to make sure only the true fans hear it, and 2, I want to make sure
go to bed.
My wife and kids are well asleep before I tell it. You're on to me. You're right.
And make sure that the G12 kids are asleep too.
I'm not worried about the G12 kids. They're not going to cost me half my wages. Finally, a decent tackle by the defense there, only a 3-yard gain, but Indiana has impressed this drive so far.
Yeah.
And I think Baker's played okay defense. That's why I say, I feel like Indiana has impressed more than Baker has struggled. I think Baker's been in the right positions. John Robb, I'm glad you're putting in that legwork. Baker finally picks up a nice sack, only a yard, but still. John, I'm glad you're running through all those scenarios because I have not had a chance to work on it. I've been doing midterms all week. So,
John, take a look. Sorry to cut you off. Take a look at the Pac-12 North because we were just talking about it. I have no idea what's going to happen. Every team has the same record, same division record, same overall record.
So I looked up the actual official tiebreakers in a 3-way tie. They look at head-to-head results. So if all 3 basically beat each other head-to-head, then they look at record in intra-division games. I think they all have 1 loss. Record against the next highest placed team in the division. So the third tiebreaker is how do they do against the next highest? So that'd be the 4th place team in the division. How did they do against the 4th place team?
Wow, this is getting weird.
So this is the official way. I don't know if this is how
they do it. Yeah, I have no idea how they're gonna. They might honestly. It's so wonky.
That's Washington State. So I don't think any of them had a loss to Washington State. So just to keep up with the game, I don't want to get too off track here. Indiana got a field goal. Now Baker's got the ball back. Second straight time, though, he's really struggled on those kick returns. I may have to take away his title of my favorite kick returner if he isn't able to do better than the 20 here pretty soon. Washington State is the next best team, and they were only 1-3 in the division, so I doubt they beat Stanford, Cal, or Oregon. But if there's some chance they beat Cal, that would be a problem. And if they beat Cal, that'd take Cal out of it, which would make it Stanford and Oregon again, which would put
And then it
Stanford
would go to next tiebreaker. Oh, it would put Stanford on top.
because it would go down to just a 2-man at that point. And then it says highest ranking in the sports analytics poll following the final rank. So it may go down to who's ranked higher.
Stanford's ranked pretty high. RB,
Baker
nice
rolls
little
out right.
Coach Doug's wheel.
Shark wheel.
That's the pirate, dude. The pirate loves the shark wheel.
So they gave up that field goal, but if they're able to come down here, score a touchdown, not too big of a deal.
Yeah, sure. And Fields running again. He's got a lot of room. He may take this to the house here. The ref does a decent job blocking. And that's
beautiful run.
And I don't mind Baker running Fields if he doesn't get tackled. If he can break it for 60 yards and he doesn't get tackled, then you've got my blessing to do that all day. I still don't like your clothing choices, but I do appreciate your. I also want to call out that I got an alert in my email. I just looked. I got a Baker Goes Live in my email, and it said he was going to be doing shirtless football, and I think he's claiming that shirt is skin colored, so it looks like he doesn't have a shirt on, and I can see it actually.
In that little screen, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. It doesn't look like he has much of a shirt on. I'm assuming Baker is A, hairier than that, B, more freckly. There's a lack of freckles. Ooh, Baker should have had a pick. Michael Penis Jr. misses his first pass of the game. He's 4 for 5.
That was a beautiful run, Macdo. He went untouched for like 50 yards.
That's all you can ask for.
Zach Harrison bowling over that offensive lineman.
A lot of G12s on the screen. Appreciate that.
It's gonna be a 14-3 Ohio State.
ASMR.
Shotgun pass here for Penis. Penis out left to Fillier.
4th and inches on their own 35. They're not going to go for this, so Baker's going to get a lucky break.
4th and inches.
Baker is cracking up, and I don't think anybody's talking in his chat, so he must be cracking up. He must be listening to us. Here we go, McCall. Earn that badge back. Yeah, that wasn't that great.
16 yards.
That's not good enough for Baker. That's like a 0-yard return for somebody else.
10-15, yeah.
Why does everybody play BYU in this dynasty? It looks like Clemson has BYU too this week. Why does everybody got to pick on BYU? They're going to end up not bowl eligible because they have losses against every G12 user. And Fields continues to roll right.
Oh, nice pass.
Completes it far enough downfield, but the momentum brings him back. And he ends up not quite getting a first down. Gonna get a little read action. Sherman takes it, picks up the first down.
No problems here, it looks like, for Ohio State early on offense.
Yeah, he's gone away from his no huddle, which I think probably is good. I hope he can just get a nice 20, 25, 30-point lead here before the half and then give these guys a break. Sermon picks up another first down. Sermon's actually getting a decent per attempt. He's at 5 yards a clip right now. And that includes a couple that got kind of stuffed down by the goal line earlier. So he's running well. I wish Baker would take advantage of some of these single high safety looks that he's getting. Really needs to practice his
great blocks.
I guess if he can score on the ground, he might as well do it.
A couple of huge plays on the ground here early for Ohio State.
Sure. And we know Baker can do that, right? I mean, I think the problem that we have is we keep watching Baker's game, hoping he's going to show us something that he hasn't shown us every week. We know he can run all these guys. We know Trey Sermon is a great running back. We know Fields can roll to the right and hit Olave. We know those things, but can he come out and have a 500-yard passing game just for the shits and giggles of it against a team like Indiana that he knows he can beat?
Yeah.
can he throw when he's going to need to in a game against you in the Rose Bowl, or a game against Ravens fan in the Sugar Bowl, and those kind of things. Can he change his game plan when the time comes?
We'll see. I'm sure. Like Ravens fan, we asked him the same exact thing the other night. They'll probably just say against users, different game plan. Which I mean, kind of same for me, right? I can't run the triple option when I play users.
Yeah, I think the difference is that if you never do it,
You don't know.
Really your game plan if you don't ever actually do it?
Yeah.
Like D's, the person I always come back to is D's. D's was a ground and pound, win by 3 points. Early in the season, D's was not blowing anybody out. D's was lucky. As Penis is untouchable. He's covered with KY jelly, and he's going to take this thing to the house.
Detachable penis.
Coach Baker reminds all of his players as they're coming out the field to make sure they grab the penis with both hands. You can't just use 2 fingers if you're gonna get it down. You gotta.
I mean, he's slippery. He's fast. You gotta get a hold of him. You gotta.
Baker's claiming NCAA in our chat already here, so it's really early in the game for Baker to be making a bunch of excuses. Some people get good, some people make excuses. But here's another opportunity for Baker on offense to show us something. So we'll see what he does. I'm guessing we're going to get some more read option and another healthy dose of Trey Sermon. I'm going to show you get some dry rusted nuts.
To go along with some more penis action.
Mm-hmm. Here comes some 4-wide play action. And Baker scrambles to the right again. He's got nobody open, but they're in a zone, so he's able to pick up a quick 8. I feel like that was a little tip of the cap to us that he at least lined up like he might throw. But when push come to shove, he was out of there. And granted, no one was open. But.
And if you're picking up yard, not that 8-yard pickup, but that right there, 14 yards before a defender even touches him.
Yeah. No, I have no complaints about what he's actually able to execute. I just wish he could. I like Baker a lot. I like his team. Oh, he stands
RB wide open across the middle.
Yeah, he had receivers. I wonder if he was just looking too far downfield. And
I like that play. That was a good look. He had a few guys wide open.
Yeah. And they're really pressed up here. If you look, I mean, they got literally everybody. They're bringing a safety blitz. He's going to have all kinds of ground. He may take all the way to the house. And those are going to go down as passing yards, so we'll take it. 47-yard pickup. He threw a 3-yard pass and it went for 47. So, but in the stat book, it'll still say it was a pass. And Justin Fields is 4 for 4. He's got 100 yards. If he can get another 100 yards in this half, he's going to be on pace.
There you go.
Master Teague punches it in.
These just huge runs, untouched, opening up these huge holes this whole line.
Which is what we expected, right? I mean, this is how we expected him to be able to run. I am impressed. He's 4 for 4 passing.
On the flip side, there's no holes for Penis.
Penis makes his own hole. He just pushes in.
That guy actually is really. I think we played him last year, and I think he's a redshirt or a true freshman last year, and he was really good.
Nice. I don't know anything about
random
Indiana
Big Ten teams. Yeah, Indiana's getting better. Like they're starting to recruit better.
The last thing I knew about him is they ended up with a pretty highly recruited kid from Utah, a quarterback was originally at Utah and he transferred to Indiana. Little draw play, picks up nothing. I thought he got a yard or 2, but picks up nothing. So after a decent gain on first down, they picked up 6 on first down to get ahead of the schedule, and now they're behind the sticks again, 3rd and 4. So Baker's bringing some high heat here with a safety blitz. Isn't able to get home.
Wide open.
Receiver wide open, deep.
Wop failure.
That's a funny name. And Penis Jr., he's not throwing for a lot of yards, but he's 10 out of 11. So he's thrown 11 passes for less yards than Baker's 4 passes. Let's see how he breaks some tackles here. And luckily, they really got a good grip on that Penix, and they got it down.
Not getting away from him this
Are you
time.
falling asleep on me, E-Migs? You had a long night?
I don't know why. I'm tired. Yeah, I worked hard today. Some landscaping.
Nice. And instead of just throwing it to the guy that's standing there waiting for the pass in the fly, he launches it 20 feet over his head out of bounds. So I don't know what the deal was there. It was a premature ejaculation pass there.
Screen.
All right, so now the wheels are coming off here.
Yeah.
Indiana's going full Indiana mode, and they're just tossing shit all over the place.
And then clockwise, I think there's enough time here, so Baker has 2 options. He can either try to score really fast, 45 seconds, 30 seconds, and then try to get the ball back, or just kill this clock and get the last possession, because he's going to kick, right? In the start
He
of
will
the third.
kick the second half, yeah. So ideally, he should really try to get 2 quick scores. Get a quick
I think
score,
so. I think so.
timeouts to stop him, and then just, rest the second half. But gonna get some sermon action up the middle.
I feel like 2 minutes is a threshold for that. If you get the ball with over 2 minutes, you should try to get 2.
And he is gonna go for no huddle. He's taking a shot deep here. I'd love to see it.
Got B. Not anymore.
He's gonna force. No, I thought he was gonna force it to Olave, but he doesn't. He does a
Oh,
nice
nice
juke.
cut.
20 yards is good enough. Stops the clock. Fields is having a monster day. 150 yards almost in the first half. That's tremendous.
In and out left.
And he doesn't quite get the first down. So now the clock continues to run. So he may be taking a little bit too long to try to get 2 in. So now there's really a question of does he slow down and just get the 1 and eat all the clock? He's got RB open again. He's really struggling to find that.
Oh, bad pass,
Making a bad pass off of his back foot here, and now he's. I mean, obviously the game's still under control, but just kind of a bad read. He really abandons the pocket too early. I mean, he had RB open. He needs to probably practice stepping forward in the pocket instead of always trying to roll to the right.
Well, I need to work on that as well.
And Penis is going to make him pay with another big run up the middle. So Penis is just punching gaping holes in Baker right now.
Opening him up.
Baker is just wide open, and Penis is just ramming it in there. And we get a drop the middle. Scott.
Do you see that block?
I didn't see it.
Pancake over the middle, like a linebacker just got molly-wallowed. Fields is out, but he's going to come back. I wish they were better with their clock management. Or even just a little more dynamic. Like they do, it's the same thing every time. It's never different.
Yeah, that is annoying. Like, why do they keep running these draws? Now they're going to be 4th down. 4th and 1, a minute left, so they're going to kick a field goal. So Baker really ought to use a timeout here, probably. Try to get some clock left.
He does. So 3 points off that turnover should be good.
So there's this girl in my astronomy class, and she is just a pain in the ass. Like, she joins this group chat, and she's like, the first thing she says is to ask everyone to follow her on Instagram.
I thought you were going to say she asked everyone their pronouns.
Oh, no. But we have, like, Honor Lock, which, like, records you when you do your... Here we go. Baker finally decides to wake up.
Oh!
This thing to the hizzy.
Wow.
Had a
Mario
play.
McCall.
Baker redeems me for calling him out as the best returner in the league. Sets another kick return record.
That was nice.
Quick answer, doesn't use any timeouts, so he may be able to force a quick 3 and out here with still a minute left and get those 2 scores that we thought about.
What were you saying though? So you're in a group chat.
And there's a program called Honor Lock. So basically, like when we take tests, you have to install a browser extension, which basically gives them control over your whole computer. Like they can see any programs you have running or tabs you have open or anything.
Oh wow. I'm glad we
So
don't have that.
She took a test and didn't know that it could see that stuff, and she's complaining now that she got an F on it, that she failed the test.
Why wouldn't you just use your phone? I guess.
Because they're recording your picture too.
Oh, like they see what you're doing.
Yeah, so they take control of your webcam and they take control of your, your screen. But she's also the same girl that tried to convince me that the test was open until Sunday after I sent like 15 times that it was only open until Saturday. She's like, I'm not taking it on Saturday. That's game day. You can take it on Sunday if you want, but it's not going to work. And Penis takes a deep shot, finds a wide open Williams who falls backwards, and Baker's defense has some holes.
He called a timeout.
I mean,
no Pirate. It's a bad timeout.
Well, they would have to run a long ways. It was a 40-yard run, 40-yard throw, and Penis is going to get this thing in here. They do stop him. Now, do they burn their last timeout, or are they going to let it run? It looks like they're going to let it run.
Yeah.
So a little bit goofy. Baker's not in a great goal line defense here, but they are going to throw. I would have continued to run.
Oh.
Come on,
they might hold them to another field goal here.
So I just said, yes, they can see anything you do. They are capturing your whole screen. And she says, that's lame, but she capitalizes. She capitalizes lame as Baker picks up a sack, and he is going to force a field goal. So they'll
getting caught lame.
But she says L space, A space, M space, E space, all caps.
Okay, so she really means it.
Mm-hmm. Baker's going to make him kick to him again. That's a smart move.
Yeah, just return one already to Mario. Try to get another, at least even a big return, get him in field position for some more points. With 27 seconds left, they are going to kick to McCall about 4 or 5 yards deep.
Oh, another good juke. He's got 20 seconds and a timeout. That's field goal. If he can pull off a miracle here. Stands in the pocket for about 1 second. Olave's got some space.
I was going to say A had it open on that break.
He would have had to make a good throw. If he put much air under it or the guy had to wait, he would have been in trouble. But they're in a single high safety again. They're still in a good defense if you want to try to take a shot, but Sermon's going to make him pay up the middle. He's going to try to catch him sleeping with his play action. He's going to take a shot.
Oh, Garrett Wilson. Wow.
Had a kid. Nice call. I like when he finally sees that single high safety and makes him pay for it.
I was going to say, too, he had it was so press coverage that outside receiver McCall, he could have sent him on a straight
he ran a curl route, but I think if he would have sent him, he would have been more open because all these other guys were following that guy. And that's what I tried to make for all along is, come up to the line, almost the opposite of Ravens fan. Come up to the line. If you see single high safety, audible to a pass.
Yeah.
You got the horses, you got the speed, you got the top 5 recruiting class every year. You're gonna beat them. Is he going to try for an onside kick? No.
I think he messed up his angle or something.
No, Jay
Who
Money, I
knows?
lost to Wisconsin. I lost
Whop
to
failure
Wisconsin
gets
on the
whopped.
road. I was number 1 and lost.
He's had a decent game. Old Wop.
How you doing, Jay Money?
A 26-point lead here.
Baker does what we wanted, though. It wasn't the traditional way of doing it, but he did get the 2-for-1 there, and he scored just before the half to basically negate the second half kickoff. So that's the ideal scenario. As they throw a little quick swing to the fullback, he picks up 7. Another big pass over the middle.
Hasn't been able to get much pressure today. And 4 incompletions for Peanuts.
And Baker hasn't forced a turnover yet. He does force enough turnovers to where I feel confident saying he's going to get one here.
He looks like right there he wanted that one. I mean, it is frustrating though. Like, he has really, really talented defensive backs. So you kind of expect, I don't know, like, what's the point of these high ratings if some of the CPUs don't make, like, come on.
That linebacker, the linebacker
come on.
made it.
He just watched the ball sail past his head.
That wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
I get what you're saying, Hardcore, but I would expect the CPU, if it's like a 97 cornerback against an 85 wide receiver and the quarterback's not that good, that he should get some picks, I don't know, on his own.
That was offside.
Or at least get him in position where Baker has an easy switch. Oh, we got a 3rd and 9 here.
Come on, Penis. And throws it short. Baker forces another 4th down.
Long kick here. Like 50. Where are they at? The 36? Oh, good.
Should have been another kick 6 situation. Baker, I still don't think Fantasy World League has talked to Baker since the kick 6 from their head-to-head game. Baker continues to not recognize that, either not recognize or not respect that overhang. He really should have audibled out of that. That's lesson number 1. If you're going to run the read option, is if they got a guy standing there, you need to do something else. And they are so loaded up. Their deepest guy is 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage. If you're listening, reload that play and look at where they're lined up. There's no reason you shouldn't have taken a shot.
Third and 2 here. Right back to the read, and that guy got blocked right into the quarterback.
Yeah. Baker's going to punt because he's a traditionalist. He's a classy fella. He's got a nice 26-point lead. He's not trying to embarrass his Big Ten brethren.
Hotty
Good
toddy,
punt.
dude. How was your vacation, man? How was it? Seems like you were gone for like a year, man. What have you been up to?
Oh, yeah, just so everybody knows too, we do have the Wednesday night show coming up. I don't know if it's right after. Is it right after this, Pirate?
Yeah.
Or is it, okay.
Yeah. Another quick pass to the left.
Yeah, good game for Wop. 7 catches, 50 yards. that safety is covering that middle wide receiver over there. Nobody cuts left. I always try to fix that if I have time when I see those totally out of position
How's the
matchups.
business doing, man? That's awesome that you're busy, though. That's what I was saying. Streams have died off because everyone's kind of getting back to life.
Empty set here for Indiana. Bad pass, bad catch. Could have gotten some yards on that. Second and 7 here for Indiana. Penis passing. Gonna get sacked.
Nice.
Is that the,
Pressure.
that's not the first sack today, is it?
No.
I feel like they've gotten him before.
I think it's his second sack, and Baker's been sacked once or twice.
Zero paid advertising so far.
3rd and 15 here. Oh,
They
there's
almost
here, another
sack, but he was able to hit. And finally, that guy actually gets across the line instead of just running out of bounds like a dumbass.
This quarterback, bro.
That guy, he's thrown it. I think that's his 9th catch.
They can't do anything to him on defense, man. They've been having to kick field goals, luckily.
Yeah, and he's had some decent kick returns and all that fun stuff.
I don't know if any other coach can speak on it too. If I highlight receivers. Like if that guy has 9 catches, I'd be highlight. I don't even know if it works. I don't know if anyone else knows.
Highlight him, like, what do you mean, double team him?
You can. There's a pre-play option to highlight receiver. If you just zoom out and you press any of the receiver's button, it puts like an orange circle around them. I think it.
If you're gonna motion him or whatever.
I don't really know even what it means in game. I always just do it if someone's like killing. Like if someone has 9 catches, I'll do it.
Well, that's like whoever you highlight, you can motion.
What do you mean? It's highlighting the receiver though, not while you're on defense.
Oh, on defense.
Yeah. That's. I think it's. I don't know if it picks up an extra guy or maybe it like leans the zones towards them or something. Another really long field, about a 57, 56-yard field goal. After he missed like a 53. Yeah, no way. Should have done a field goal return.
Again, that's twice, right? I mean, he could have had 2 kick sixes today. He's leaving points on the board all over the place today, that Baker. He had 42 at the half. He should be scoring 80, and now he hasn't even scored this whole quarter.
Wow.
And the question comes in, does he leave the starters in, right? I mean, it's 26 points. You know, does he give them the rest of the third quarter here? Does he pull them out now? What's he going to do?
Only one I would really be worried about is Fields, especially just with the way he runs them. And like we said, I would bring in C.J. Stroud, who's probably redshirted. I think he's a true freshman, but he's better than the other backup, Gunnar Hoke. RB.
Not Saturday, right?
Only 7 pass attempts for Justin Fields.
But a decent. I mean, he had 100-something yards.
Yeah.
You know, he's picking up decent yards. He had that huge bomb. You know, he had the big screen pass. So it's been chunk plays on both. Shark wheel. I saw shark wheel.
Did he go to it?
I don't know. He's teasing me.
Yeah,
he did.
Roll out right.
Right. Hit him. Hit Sermon.
Fumble.
Yeah, he fumbled. Olave bails him out.
Oh, that's right. I knew that. Sorry. 2 weeks, man. 3 weeks. My mind's forgetful.
Nice read by Baker there. Sermon, the play was actually going more up the middle. He cut it way out left. That safety coming.
Now, what I was saying we're going to do tonight, since the G12 show is after my game, probably going to raid G12 after my game.
Teague, same, nice cut.
Nice cut. Yeah, that was great. And another long touchdown run. So another 20-plus yard run. That's really turned into a theme for Baker this game.
We'll see what happens after the G12 show. I might go live again.
Those are satisfying too, because I feel like it's the CPU just loves stopping you on those runs. So if you can break one for a touchdown, like 15, 10, 20 yards out.
Anime style, like.
I get tackled at the 1 yard line probably 4 times a game. Probably why my red zone stats are so bad. Another screen and he doesn't read it. Scott's going to pick up big yards here. Evie Scott. The 30 pass attempts on the flip side here for Indiana.
Yeah, we missed Ramble this week, or we will miss Ramble later on tonight. Yeah, they just I've been working remote, right, and my wife's still been working, and so my son has been.
WAP failure. What a PPR game for WAP.
I haven't had a chance to work with him during the day on
You an NFL guy, Pirate?
I watch, but not really.
You see my brownies? 3-1, baby.
Nice. Yeah, I know they're running the ball well, but Chubb got hurt.
We're fine. We were fine. Our third string running back had 95 yards on 11 carries or something. Beat the Cowboys. What was your story? Your second half story you wanted to tell?
So Miss Bikini Florida is in 2 of my classes.
Okay.
Pretty awesome.
Go on. That's it?
Yeah, that's it. and you'd be amazed how helpful I can be.
Is she a cheerleader or anything, or just?
Is she
Bikini?
what?
Is she a cheerleader?
No.
I had a buddy who was a cheerleader for Ohio State. I wasn't friends with him when he was there, but he apparently was banging on the cheerleaders.
Yes, I just found out tonight I potentially got exposed to COVID.
I didn't know that went on, but it makes sense.
Negative, I'm positive I'll get tested. Yeah, dude, that's scary. I've only known one person that actually got COVID.
Penis takes off barely, nearly gets in, stopped short.
Brother-in-law's girlfriend, her dad got it.
Just needed to kind of extend there, a few more inches there, and he would have been in. What? See, that was really wonky animation. The guy got hit by 3 guys. 1, 2, 3, and just kind of barely gets moved. See, this is when also CPU starts to annoy me. Oh, wow, it's an early onside kick. Baker's gonna have to audible get in position. I was just gonna say that sometimes I'll put it on conservative just because they're annoying me so much.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to pull your starters, you're not going to go for 70. It kind of just comes to a point where you need to do one of 3 things. You either need to pull your starters, go for 70, or
no one's winning Heisman. No one's winning Heisman. No. Yeah.
Well, but if you're winning a Heisman, then you're going for 70, right? You do one of those 3 things.
I'm just saying I think it's out of reach for everybody except Najee Harris. It looks like he did go to conservative. Just hope these guys all stay healthy. No stupid injuries.
For sure. I want to see everybody down the stretch be as healthy as possible.
Fourth and inches here is going to go. Try to keep killing the clock. They have that line stacked. Doesn't matter though. Cade Stover, the tight end. Now it looks like he's probably going to pull starters, or at least I would pull Fields, if not the whole offense. Okay. Good call, Baker. Get us out of here.
Yes, sir.
QB draw.
Get on to the Wednesday night show.
And I think I'm either going to watch Halloween or Ghostbusters. What do you think, Pirate?
Big punt pass, yeah.
I don't really like Halloween, but I actually like the Chick Ghostbusters.
Really? I haven't
Yeah.
seen it. I just heard it got really bad reviews.
If we get to a fourth down, I'll do it.
What's your favorite Halloween movie?
I actually really like the Scream movies. I mean, they're kind of cheesy, but
They're good.
they came out when I was a teenager, so that's kind of my.
Big play there for Master Teague while we were talking.
We'll settle for yeah. If we get to a fourth down, I'll do a fake field.
Yeah,
I don't know what my favorite Halloween movie. I mean, like horror movie, just a horror movie isn't a Halloween movie, right?
I mean, I guess it is.
Like if I like The Shining as my favorite that's not a good Halloween movie, is it?
I think so. None of them are like, other than the ones called Halloween, none of them are like based on Halloween, right? So
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
Great job of stuff.
Hocus Pocus, Halloween Town. So who needs a sub? Tisket. Need a sub? What just happened? Interception in the end zone?
yeah, diving interception in the end zone at that.
Trying to get Olave a touch.
Yeah, John, I don't know if you heard, like, it's that Pac-12 North is really weird, dude. Stanford lost to Cal. Cal lost to Oregon. And Oregon
Post-game interview. Can you ask
lost to Stanford. I don't know where I was going with that. They all have one loss in the division. They all have 3 overall losses. They all have 2 conference losses. So then Pirate was looking for like the 4th tiebreaker, but we don't know what the tiebreaker is going to be in the game. Like I don't know where it goes after head-to-head wins and after division. I think Pirate said in real life it would go to highest ranked after those 3 teams within the division.
It would go to the head-to-head on the 4th place team.
Do we have time for post game, or do you want to go right to the Wednesday?
We don't have much in the Wednesday show, so yeah, he can come. He can
Okay.
come chat with us.
What?
Okay.
The Wednesday show is going to be
I
like
can't
20
tell you how many
minutes,
times
probably.
That has happened.
Points. That's what I was thinking. Hardcore. is
20 good
points forward.
minutes, though. 20 good minutes.
But
20.
hardcore. So division and conference, they're all tied.
Okay, that's fine.
So then it'll go to points for, which I think Oregon might have. So I might get to play Oregon.
The
But then
Stanford
again-
Gal, huh?
They also all have a game next week too. So It's funny too that we have no insight, like we don't know how the game's gonna do it, so we're just gonna have to kind of get like, oh well, here we go, let's advance.
Score all the points you can in your last couple games.
Yeah.
If you're Rhombus.
Yep. I think he has it. I think he has like a 70-point lead though, if I'm not wrong.
All right, that's the ball game, gentlemen.
Yeah, probably. Stanford's losses are to Cal and to USC.
Yep.
I don't know who Cal's losses are to.
They lost one of them to Oregon.
Oregon and someone. If it's Washington State, that's a problem. That would help break the ties. But I don't think it is.
BCS ranking. That's another thing Pirates said, was it might just go by highest ranked.
Coach Baker, can you hear us?
I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can. Congratulations on a solid win. Very never really in doubt. Why don't you run us through kind of how you felt the game went?
I thought we played pretty well. I made some boneheaded plays, but that could be a combination of not having played the game very much and having a couple Budweisers before and during the game. So defensively, I know it was kind of a bend but don't break mentality. They kept kicking field goals. I think their one touchdown was legitimate. The second one, I had the guy for a sack, and he broke it for 65 yards for a score. I actually, Biggie, and it was in my channel when I went live like 20-some minutes before the game, and we were talking about we should scout the other team. We knew that Penix guy was going to be their all offense. He's got a lot of rushing yards, and I kind of just played man so that I could kind of break off and play him as he ran. And I don't know how many yards he had. He probably still had a good amount of running, but I think we contained them pretty well with like a bend but don't break strategy. Overall, good win. It was Indiana. I mean, I felt pretty comfortable going in that they weren't going to do a whole lot. But
yeah, your long running game was your long plays just in general. You really picked up some amazing chunk yardage. You had a 47-yard screen. You had that long touchdown at the end of the first half. You obviously had the kickoff return. You broke, I think, 3 or 4 long touchdown runs of 20+ yards. Just really some big chunk plays. What were you looking for there? How were you? Was that just kind of blocking lined up, or did you see something you thought would be helpful to really get those long chunk plays?
well, I can't. I'll have to go back and look at the kick return. Did I call timeout to cause them to have to kick that ball off to me? I can't remember. But the kick return, yeah. McCall's pretty good at returning. So I got a bunch of flack. I think it was the game either against Rhombus or Fantasy that I didn't really return much. McCall's really good back there. So, if I kick the ball, if he gets the ball, I should just return it every time with him. But are you talking about on offense, running the ball? My strategy is always run with Sermon first. But once I started running the option plays, they were giving it to Justin Fields. Like it was wide open. He had 147 yards rushing. So Fields was my leading rusher today. Sermon did get over 100. Teague had 68, but he really didn't factor into the game at all until late in the game because I didn't need to run it with Sermon as much as I had in the past. Fields also had almost 200 yards passing, one boneheaded interception, and then he could have had more passing yards too. I had Olave wide open on a bad sack. I hit the wrong button. When that slot receiver switches, sometimes he goes to RB and not Y or whatever his normal button is, and it got me on that play. So I don't know. I thought Fields played really well. The Heisman consideration is completely out the window for anybody on my team when you've got a running back scoring 10 to 12 touchdowns a game. It's impossible to win the Heisman. I was probably out of it long before that after a bad showing against Fantasy, a loss to Wisconsin, and 2 bye weeks. It's hard for me to get back in any sort of national discussion with those 4 stretch of games and non-games. So at this point, it's maybe a bad strategy, but I might try and be conservative and not use Fields as much and try and convince him to come back. But if we're resetting or whatever we're doing anyway, it may not matter. So
I was gonna say on that train of thought, Coach. I know just because I have another dynasty with Ohio State, so I know the roster. It's Gunnar Hoke, I think, is a 78 overall, but you do have C.J. Stroud, who's a true freshman. I'm guessing you redshirted him.
Yeah, he's
so
redshirted.
You might as well take that redshirt off, right? Because this season's not carrying over.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I guess I could use him late in games, so and see what.
Just
he probably is a better option. Yeah. And me, I like to roll right. I make fun of Baker Mayfield for Baker roll right, but I could just as easily be Baker roll right in the NCAA community.
3-1, 3-1.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. I thought the game was good overall. I just I don't like where my defense is, even though we don't necessarily give up a ton of points. We gave up quite a few to Illinois. I mean, that was a quiet game. It wasn't, there was no coverage on it, and there wasn't a lot of people watching at the time. But I didn't play that well against Illinois. We gave up a lot of points, but thankful, they gave Burt a run in his matchup with them. But it was one of those games where once I got a turnover, or turnover on downs or a punt. Once I got up 2 scores, I was just outscoring them. They would score, I would score. Yeah. It wasn't like I was getting any stops. But tonight, I really didn't think the defense played that bad. I mean, we were on roller skates on a couple of the drives, and they'd get down in the red zone and then either, turn it over or kick a field goal and miss it or, whatever. I gave up the one long running touchdown to the quarterback, and then their second touchdown was a legitimate drive. I felt like that was probably our weakness there on defense, but I know we got the game next week.
Yep,
big time game. That's the one. That's the important one.
So probably your toughest game since Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, probably. Michigan State was kind of tough on the road. I mean, I was down in that one, like 21-7, I want to say, in that one. But the toughest game is always the one in front of you, but it's always got a big red target on it when it's the team up north. So absolutely. We're going to be gunning for them.
Top 10. So
they are?
Yeah, they're ranked number 9.
This game is not realistic, is it, guys? This game is not.
They're not going to be ranked that high that late.
But yeah, so we got that game coming up, and then I haven't looked at the standings. I'm assuming it's probably Wisconsin or Minnesota on the other side. I think I saw Wisconsin was pulling ahead in that live look-in, but I don't know if that live look-in is realistic for what the simulation does when it fantasy advances the week or not. So
it is.
It looked like it is. Yep. The live look-in matters. Okay, so then Wisconsin, I think, beat Minnesota. So I would love to have another shot at them, but they put it to me last time I played them. But
a little revenge game.
And then, of course, the remaining 3 teams ahead of me, Hardcore doesn't have another user game until a potential championship, but he doesn't have a conference championship. So I don't know how that'll play in. D's and Sharpshooter have to play each other, and then whoever wins that matchup is likely facing a user in their conference championship game. So, it's just at this point went out.
I just had the thought of how poetic would it be if Hardcore gets jumped that conference championship week just because he doesn't have a game.
Well, I was worried it was going to happen when Texas A&M and Wisconsin were up there at 2 and 3. I'm like, can you imagine we do this whole league? It comes down to championship week, and it's 2 CPU teams at the championship. But thankfully, it's not going to come to that. I think we've got it set up pretty well that someone's going to be in the championship. That's a user. I mean, Yofi's still hanging in the balance, but honestly, without a conference championship, I think that's going to hurt him more than it's going to hurt Hardcore in the end. So.
Yep.
Well, and Stanford just lost and potentially is going to miss their conference championship, so that's going to hurt Yofi as well. So.
Okay. There's that piece too.
Yofi's best benefit is that he beat
USC.
Yep. So, and if USC wins the Pac-12, then that will help Yofi. But
yeah,
we're taking all John Rob's talking points, I guess.
Oh, really? For the show tonight, you mean?
We'll run through it. We'll run through it again. So, yeah, Coach, good win. I think the biggest thing I would call out is you're just not getting enough lab time, right? You're not getting enough time.
No,
That's why your
I'm
defense
not
is struggling, and some of your passing game stuff could definitely improve if you put we're able to put a little more time in. But you're winning games, and that's all that matters for now. And you'll worry about the bowl game when you get there.
Yep, one game at a time, and the big one is up next. So, gotta prove. I might put a little lab time in, so I don't slip up on that one because that one would hurt more than Wisconsin.
Hang 100 on them, coach.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. All right, guys.
All right.
Hey, I'm sure the call was great. I'll watch it later on tonight. Appreciate it, guys.
Luck.
All right, good game, man.
See ya.
All right. See ya. All right, we're gonna take a short break. Let E-Migs get out of here. I'm gonna go grab myself probably a dooski out of the fridge in the garage and let John Rob get in here. Let our wonderful producer get things rearranged. So we'll take a short break and we'll see everybody here in 3 or 4 minutes.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Warning. 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 G12 is in the motherfucking building.
Haha. What's up, G12 world? Let's get it. Coming straight out of G12, NCAA coming at you. Stick skills have you frozen like a statue. Group of 12 streamers, we on that Twitch. Any other league just became our bitch. We got Fantasy, Mac Dub, and Baker. King Yofi, E-Migs, man, we some playmakers. Then there's Rhombus, Ravens fan, and Chuck. Think y'all can take us? Ha, good luck. Sharpshooter and gridiron greats. Hardcore and D's, don't you underestimate. We got skill, we above the rest. Check out production, we pass the test. Every game produced with live commentary. A few of these guys on the sticks is just scary. College football, Twitch at its finest. Levels to the shit, and we on the highest.
Welcome back, everybody. My name's Pirate Ike, and I've got John Rob here with me, coming to you live in our matching. Our moms dressed us alike tonight. We're both in our G12 shirts, ready to give you the update on the week that was and the week to come in the G12. John, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing excellent, quite honestly. I'm wearing the lovely G12 shirt, compliments of MacDub. So I finally went and my wife, actually, I didn't pick it up. My wife went and picked it up. So finally
rode the horse out to the P.O. box and picked it up.
That's right. Finally got out of the old homestead and charted over there. But yeah, so doing great, man. Great
Awesome.
call. Fun game. Maybe not an exciting game, but still funny, hilarious.
I think you did a decent job. I mean, Penix put up a good effort and broke a couple runs. Baker gets NCAA'd as much as anybody, so I always enjoy catching his games.
Yeah, absolutely. It just has the game has some kind of vendetta against him to always give up those weird plays. So.
I think it just doesn't I think the game, along with myself, just doesn't really like Ohio State that much. So.
Yeah, I mean, does anybody really like Ohio State? I mean, if you don't live in Ohio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, let's get right into it, and let's talk about week 4. I mean, we've already had the 4-week 13 games that have already kicked off. So the season's towards the end here. We're kind of winding down, so things have got a little less controlled. The schedules, we're getting a little more, as I like to call, Thursday night games. We got games being played as early as Monday, Tuesday in a given week. So we're already 4 games into the season so far. Start off with Coach Burt, a huge win over Penn State. This is a signature win for Coach Burt and that Nebraska program after what's been a really tough season. He's not going to make a bowl game, but a really gutsy win over Penn State. What were your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I think he was able to do kind of what he did in the past, right? I think it's helped that he's had Martinez back. He just didn't have a quarterback there for whatever that was, like 6 or 7 weeks or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. That's helped him. It was a close game, but all of his games seem to be close. I mean, he's not really got killed too many times by the CPU, and it's kind of a product of just that roster that he has inherited. Especially with the injuries. So it was good to see him get back on those winning tracks. We could kind of see that the last couple of weeks. He was close and getting closer and getting closer. And for him to finally get back on the winning track, I think it was just fun to see him. And he always has a good time in the stream. And, feel good for him, man. It was a big-time win, and I know he felt good about it to finally get that W.
Yeah, Wisconsin is out of his league this year. But, he really impressed me with the MacDub game. I think Coach Burt really underestimates his ability to throw the ball. He really went away from that too early in the season. He basically said, all right, we're Nebraska. We're just going to have to line up and smack. We're going to have to try to win 10-7 football games. But he's got athletes, and he's good he's actually better on the sticks than a lot of people give him credit for if he takes some chances. So I thought maybe coming out of that UCF game that maybe he'd try to air it out some more. I hoped he had seen some things that he liked in the passing game. But it looks like he's reverted back. He doesn't seem to be throwing it as much as maybe I had hoped that he would. But maybe he's just playing tight to the vest. That Big Ten schedule is really back in loaded for him. I mean, Wisconsin and Penn State at the end, that's not the time to try to put it in a passing game. You're really just trying to get out of it alive.
Yeah, and, I think he's a little bit wary of turning the ball over. He has a habit of usually throwing a lot of interceptions and things like that. So, but still, he got the win, and that's what it all comes down to. It was a close game to the end, but just made enough plays to get the win for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, and then the next game of the week was number 6 Alabama played against number 9 Missouri, so a top 10 matchup, a tough SEC matchup. This game actually happened just barely in real life, and Alabama really knocked the doors off Missouri in real life. But the game was a lot closer than the score says. I mean, it was 21-10. The score, I don't know if we probably won't have anything to pull up because it's inside the same week, so you won't be able to see anything on the screen here. But 21-10 was the score. Was close for most of the first half, and then Ravens fan just kind of slowly pulled away. I mean, 21 points is not much. I mean, that's a pretty low touchdown game for Najee Harris. If he doesn't get his 6 or 7 touchdowns, he is even playing. But
yeah, I don't even think he got 100 yards. It was like 86 yards. He still got 2 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure it was really more of his defense carried him a lot more in this game. He did air it out a little bit more. It wasn't necessarily Najee Harris up the gut. It wasn't that type of game for him. It was a really much different kind of game than what we had seen from Ravens fan in the past. But yeah, so he was still trying to score to the end, just couldn't get a touchdown. But his defense really carried him. His defense looked really good, got a lot of pressure. Missouri just wasn't able to put up a lot of points, so he didn't have to score a lot in that situation. Ran the clock, kind of got out of there in another, quick game, and did what he needed to do. Like we said, he's in the captain seat, like we'll talk about later now in the SEC West, and a win's a win, and especially against a good top 10 team, top 15 team, whatever Missouri was at the time. And
yeah, they're ranked number 9.
So it's a good top 10 team win there. It's a quality win, and move on to next week and Auburn for sure.
I think in real life you can look at teams week over week and compare them better. If you see one team really beat a team pretty bad and then the next team struggles, I think in real life you can read more into that than you can in this game. But when Tennessee played Missouri, they just blew the doors off of them, right? Or sorry, when South Carolina played Missouri, when Dees played Missouri, he blew the doors off of him, and Raven kind of squeaked past. So, can you read a lot into that? I don't know. The computer sometimes, it likes to play a totally different game plan on you. So it's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's hard.
But I do think it's time for Ravens fan to take it to another gear. He's got just the Auburn game left. And then he's got it's going to be a brutal SEC championship game. Hopefully in that Auburn game, he can work out anything he thinks he needs to work out in his passing game and be ready to go. So it was nice to see him throw it a little more in this game, but he really didn't have that tremendous of results.
No, he really didn't. What's really interesting about that is that he's playing Young, right? That he's playing Bryce Young for the running purpose, right? I mean, he's got there for the dual threat, which he doesn't have a lot with Mac Jones. If you were playing Mac Jones, but you would think, watching Alabama in real life, for example, that's got to be similar to how this team is set up, with dynamic wide receivers to be able to spread the ball out and throw the ball vertically with this roster. If you're using Mac Jones,
sure.
And I'm almost certain he's not going to do that at this point. So as he thinks on that, I wonder if that's maybe something that he would have considered differently. I think he was always going to go Bryce Young just for that running option, though, just the way that he has played the game.
In my opinion, I actually made a note. I didn't make many notes about this game, but that is something I was going to ask you. And again, we not only have the same shirts, but we think a lot alike on these kind of things. I think the Auburn game is a perfect chance to bring Mac Jones out and just give D something to think about, right? I mean, Ravens fan has put a lot of film out there that looks very similar. You put any one of Ravens fans' game on, and you're like, who was he playing again? I mean, it's the same game. Najee Harris can be just as dominant in a Mac Jones game as he can in a Bryce Young game.
Well, he's not going to be able to do that either. I mean, we've seen him play user games. He's not going to be able to line up and run.
I just mean in the Auburn game, right? Like,
and I agree. I think as he's preparing, that's what I'm saying. As he's preparing for D's, I think you're absolutely right. It's a perfect opportunity to do that. Whether he'll do that or not, I don't know. He might listen to us and he might not, but he's not going to be able, as he saw against Yofi and and things of that nature. It's going to be really difficult to line up, and he does have a user win. I mean, I'm not going to take that away from him, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that against D's, where you're going to be able to line up halfback gut 90% of the time, right? Sure. You're not going to be audible.
And read option isn't as successful against computers either. So then, does the whole Bryce Young thing not become as valid? Is it worth taking one game, seeing what you can do throwing with Mac Jones, and then going into the SE game knowing that you're going to have to run a more traditional offense? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Definitely, hopefully that's something a Ravens fan at least considers. And I hope it makes Dees lose at least a minute of sleep at night, thinking that he may have to see some Mac Jones. So
play them both, why not?
Yeah, sure, rotate it. That's I'm a fan of that. Moving on to the next game, we have Miami. Coach Brian took on a Virginia team, a scrappy Virginia team. Same song, different day, really, for Coach Brian. I mean, another huge win. 56-27 was the final score. it is a crime to me. You know, there's two main crimes that I think in this league right now. One is that E-Migs' coach didn't advance, so we had to move forward. And I honestly think something that's equally as bugged is that Coach Brian is still not even ranked.
I know. I think what Max said in his chat today, if I'm not mistaken, is he actually is like 21st in the BCS. You just don't see that. We've only seen the
still,
top 10.
I mean, you've got teams with 4 losses.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I'm completely agreement. I brought that maybe. I said in his chat today, maybe after this game, you might get voted in the top 25. He was just like, I don't even care at this point. Yeah. At this point, I hope they don't even vote me in at the top 25. Maybe trying to get that chip on his shoulder going in to this last week and his opportunity to get that revenge on Sharpshooter and Clemson. Just to have that extra chip, maybe he doesn't want to be voted in the top 25.
What does the game do when you have a situation where you've got a team that's basically not ranked? So, I mean, maybe he's going to barely crack the top 25 this week. If he beats a Sharpshooter down the stretch, he goes from unranked to BCS game. Now he's got the ACC championship. So, I mean, does he jump? He'll have 2 losses.
We've seen it in this game. Right? I mean, we've all played this game where you had these weeks where you're like, you know, 3rd in the country or something like that. And then some team who's like 10th comes out of nowhere and jumps up to 2nd after the championship game. So I don't know what's going to happen, to be honest. Like, you just never know. And it's possible he gets another win next week and then goes on and upsets Clemson in the ACC championship. Man, I don't. The scenarios are.
That's why we'll stick around and watch, right?
Crazy, exactly right.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy scenarios. We'll get into more of those here in the future. And the last game that we have that was before tonight was MacDub. Coach MacDub and that high-powered offense took on East Carolina. And my score says that he won 31-18, but he was quick to call out. He actually won 38-18. Yeah. So another big win for Mac. You know, he had a little error last week. He didn't save his game properly, and so he actually won the game on stream, but then didn't save, and then he lost the game when the thing moved forward. So he ended up with an extra loss, potentially lost his opportunity to win his conference championship with that extra loss. So rough times in Orlando. Not to mention UCF lost in real life to Tulsa. So it's just tough times all around in Orlando right now. What were your thoughts on this East Carolina game?
Yeah, man, I was in and out. Just I really wasn't able to pay attention much today. It was a close game in the first half. They were keeping it close, and then you looked up and he was like, "What's up by a ton?" And I was like, "Oh, and the stream's almost over." So he got up, he got comfortable, and then was ready just for the game to end. So he had another great game. He's always super hilarious in the stream. And it was just a good overall performance, a big win. And luckily he did have proof and video in Discord today that he did save his game. So just a huge blunder. That's brutal because he's in the AAC championship. He's in the American Conference Championship. If he just saves the game, that's a tough look for our guy MacDub, right? So
for sure.
I feel bad for him for that, but it was good to see him get the win. We'll give him credit that he got the win last week, but unfortunately it won't matter.
Well, and Emigs just called out, and I was going to mention it as well. I mean, if Mac beats USF, he should still have the tiebreakers that he needs. He's USF's 5-1 in conference; they're number 1, and then Cincinnati's number 2.
So he has tiebreakers over both. Yeah.
Yep, he'd have tiebreakers over both, and has scored a ton more points as well. So I think he'll be okay. He does have 4 losses on the season. He is bowl eligible, which is awesome. I mean, that's obviously the first check mark that you want to make is get your bowl eligible done, and then if he can get a conference championship, that'll be good. And then it looks like he'd probably play. Either Tulsa or Memphis. I'm not sure which one. I don't have all
I'm thinking it's probably Tulsa. I mean, I think they have 1 loss, so it just kind of depends on what happens this week and then next week as well. You never know how that's going to shake out, but it'll be between those 2 for sure.
Well, and Coach Mac always is so fun to watch, like you mentioned, and I think it's important to know, like, MacDub plays so many games, right? Like, I mean, he's playing Madden. He's in 2 leagues with me on PlayStation, so he's all over the place. He's having to change button combinations and configurations and and teams, and he puts himself through a lot of extra pressure. Not to mention all the work he does to try to keep this league running. So, shout out to Mac for putting on an awesome stream, taking it on the challenge of really not that great of a team, and doing quite a bit with them. They're definitely not the best team in Florida, as they like to claim. But yeah, I mean, Mac has been awesome all season. He's played. I mean, his losses were all close. Georgia and the Oregon game was as close as you could get. So, he's 1 or 2 plays going different directions, or a save going the right direction from being in that top 25 conversation, or that top 10 conversation for that matter.
Yeah, yeah, it's very true. It was a couple of 2-point conversions away, and a couple of overtime losses. You forget how many overtime losses he had.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you can see there, Bert's kind of pulled up the standings, and kind of it's just tight. A couple of these conference races are super tight, which I know we're going to touch on after we kind of touch on Baker's game, just a recap on that. But yeah, they're definitely close, and we'll just see how it shakes out after this week and next week for sure.
Sure. Well, and just to, like you said, to touch on Baker's game, I mean, most of the people that are in here just came from that game. Baker, another classic showing, great running game. Justin Fields didn't even look like he broke a sweat, and he had almost 200 yards rushing and 200 yards passing. I think 4 or 5 long touchdown runs over 20 yards. A couple long runs. He threw a screen pass for almost 50 yards. He threw a bomb at the end of the first half. So big plays were there. He still is not doing the traditional, what I'd like to see him staying in the pocket and slinging it. I still worry about if he falls behind, especially in a user game. What's he going to do? That passing game is not where it needs to be. But, and his defense isn't quite where he wants it to be. He's still not getting any time away from the G12 league, where he's actually getting any time, even in his offline dynasty with Auburn that he plays a lot. You can tell that he's just not picking up the controller enough to be as sharp as he needs to be if he's down the stretch here. If things do break his way, I worry about him being able to finish it off and get that natty.
Yeah, and I completely agree with all that, right? It's just the work. And like he said, hopefully he can get some in before this Michigan game. But let's just jump into it then. I mean, Bert's already got it pulled up here for us. As we talk about these conference championship scenarios, right? As you can see here, Ohio State's clearly in first, but it's a must-win for him. That's not only is it a normal rivalry game, but it's huge for this division. As we look at that, if he drops this game, they'll both have 2 losses. Michigan's going to get the tiebreaker. He's out of the championship game. So it's a must-win for Ohio State, not only with the rivalry with the team up north, but also for them. And then very similar to some of these, depending on how the next couple of weeks work out for the Legends division, we got Wisconsin, Northwestern, and Minnesota all still a shot to play in that championship game. So depending on who gets the wins here at the end, Northwestern still has a shot with a couple of victories we know over Minnesota. And I can't remember who their other upset. They beat Wisconsin, right? So if Wisconsin drops another game next week or this week, you're looking at possibly Northwestern jumping in there with the tiebreaker to play. So that might be a more favorable matchup. Baker might be on one hand trying to beat Michigan and trying to, hope for maybe a Wisconsin loss and get that easier victory. But then again, he might want the more important victory with Wisconsin.
We think Wisconsin beat Minnesota in the Baker game. I don't remember seeing it, but Baker says he saw it. So that's something to keep an eye on as we watch other games come up. And then it looks like they've got Rutgers.
And then they've got Rutgers. So it's probably going to be Wisconsin, would be my guess. Wisconsin, Ohio State, depending on who wins that game next week between, the big game of Ohio State and Michigan. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But a close race there, and those are kind of the scenarios that we're looking at. Obviously, Minnesota's out if we saw on that ticker for his game.
Well, and that's huge for Baker. I mean, he's got, his 2 remaining games. He's got Wisconsin, he's got Michigan for sure, which is in the top 10, and then he's got Wisconsin, which will probably be another top 10 team. So that's really good for his BCS title hopes, which we'll get into more detail in a minute. But
Yeah.
that's going to really help propel him if he can get those 2 top 10 teams down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the best scenario thing, I think, for him is to get that Michigan win, play Wisconsin, beat Wisconsin, and then see how the chips fall, right?
Sure. John, why don't you run us through this Pac-12 North? I mean, I haven't seen anything messier than this in a long time. So, did you get out your abacus and do some quantum space physics and figure out how this thing's going to wrap up? Why don't you catch everybody up on how this looks now? So, Stanford lost to Cal. Is that correct? That's
correct. That's what we confirmed, right, in Baker's game, right? It looks like that was a Stanford lost to Cal, which is huge. What I think we saw in games earlier this week. It wasn't quite on Baker's, but I think games are played already. We saw that. They also have that loss to USC, like you had mentioned in Baker's game. So if you don't mind, Bert, can you pull up Cal's schedule there for us? And because Cal, we know, lost to Oregon. And then I don't know how well you can see that.
They beat Washington State.
They beat Washington State. And then lost Arizona. To Oregon and lost to Arizona, so that's huge, right? So their losses are to Oregon and Arizona, so it's just a crap show, really.
Yeah. So I looked up the tiebreakers. Yeah. And Arizona State.
So my guess is it's going to go to BCS rankings, right? Because they all have 3 losses to each other. I think if I'm not mistaken, the 4th place team, if you want to go back, Bert, that'd be fine.
They all beat Washington State. So my guesses are probably going to go to BCS, which I assume Oregon is going to be the highest ranked team in the BCS. Maybe we can get into the BCS in a minute, but let's put a pin in that. I don't want Bert to go to that quite yet, but
that's what I was saying. So we'll go back to that, but that's kind of where we're at. It's really, like you guys said, we're not really going to know till we get there, I think. But Rhombus still, we thought Rhombus had that loss to Arizona State, and it just completely didn't have a chance to get back in the championship game. But things might fall the right way for him to get back into it. And of course, Southern Cal's a lock. No chance of them not making the championship game. So they're for sure in. And maybe, just maybe, there could be a weird scenario where if they get the wins and things go chaotic championship this next week and championship week, that they could possibly slip up into that national championship picture, but we'll look at that in a little bit later.
Yeah, a little cliffhanger for you there. I do think it's worth mentioning that there are still games to be played. So, Oregon has to take care of Oregon State. I mean, we can't look past that. Stanford's die is already cast. They've played all their all their division games. All they have left is Yofi. So a win or a loss there doesn't really matter. I think Cal may have one left. I'm not sure. I didn't catch it, but you don't really need to go back. But really, Rhombus just has to take care of business. He's got to beat Oregon State. That's the
most important thing. He's got to get a win this week. And as we said before in the past, Oregon State's the trash program of the of the Pac-12. So yeah, he'll have Arizona, then Oregon State. Or his games this week. So he's got to get those 2 wins to even have a shot. A loss, obviously, he's completely out of it.
Sure.
With Stanford already making their case for what their record's going to be. Yeah, so we'll move on to the SEC now. Really not much to talk about. I mean, it's pretty much a lock. We know South Carolina's a lock. They locked that up a couple weeks ago.
Well, he's still got to win 2, right? He's still got 2 more games. What has he got? He's got Ole Miss and then who?
Ole Miss and Clemson, so he
only has one more conference game.
He has one more conference game. Missouri has the 2 losses. I think he wrapped it up a couple of weeks ago with that Mississippi State or that Florida win or Mississippi State win. I think he had that locked up, especially with the tiebreaker over Missouri. There wasn't any chance that D's wasn't going to make it. So South Carolina's a lock. Alabama is in a must-win situation against Auburn. So we've got these big rivalry games next week with him already having the victory this week. If he slips up, Texas A&M, depending on what they do to finish out the season, will have the tiebreaker over them. They're back in. So he doesn't have this opportunity to slip up. So a huge game against Auburn. So we talked about, will he be able to break out those things with Matt Jones and stuff like that? He might be thinking in the back of his head, I can't lose this game. I can't do anything different. Maybe if he has a big lead in the end, he can tinker with things in the second half like we've seen. Auburn, not a great year so far this year, real middle of the pack. I think they're 7-3, 4-3 in conference, maybe something like that. So, yeah.
Who does Texas A&M have left, Bert? Can you show us their last game? Probably Arkansas.
It looks like
Mizzou.
They've got LSU and Mizzou, so 2 losable games for sure for them. And Alabama's going to have the tiebreakers over those other teams. So yeah, if he wins, he's in. And it might not matter. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Just a win and an end, and we'll see that SEC championship game between Alabama and South Carolina, another one that we're looking for. So these could have a tough last couple of weeks. Looking at Sharp and then possibly looking at Ravens fan back-to-back user games, and then another possible, if he wins out, another user game in a bowl game or a championship game. All right, so we'll go to the ACC at this point. Both of these teams are locks, as you'll see in the standings. Clemson undefeated, 9-0, number 3 in the country. They're a lock. Miami also a lock, as they only have that one loss to Clemson. Virginia Tech already with 3 losses, I think. So both of those teams are a lock. I'm really looking forward to this game. As much as I'm looking forward to the D's and sharpshooter game, this is under the radar, a huge game, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we haven't talked about it much because we've talked so much about D's and sharpshooter that last week of the game, last week of the season. But man, this is a huge one. Revenge game. As you remember, all the way back at the beginning of the season, we had the not Slaughtergate, but Stickgate, where Coach Brian's stick, left stick to kick wasn't working. He was having to go for 2, all this chaos, and he ended up losing by less than a touchdown. So that could be a really interesting championship game once we get there. So really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, nobody has a tougher stretch at the end here than sharpshooter, right? I mean, he's got BYU this week, which should be a relatively easy win. But then he's got D's and Coach Brian down the stretch, and he's got a rough road, but he does have what I would call a clear road to get to the championship game. I mean, he doesn't really have anybody in front of him. All he's got to do is win these games, and he's in. So he doesn't have to wait for any miracles or hope anybody else slips up or anything like that. All he's got to do is take care of the guys in front of him, and he'll be there.
Right, and we kind of talked about the ACC already. So right now, as it sets today, as we speak, it's looking at Tulsa, UCF, depending on what happens next week like we talked about, between MAC and USF, South Florida. You could be possibly seeing a flip-flop there, where maybe UCF still gets in the championship game. So kind of like you said, that squish where he's got the win over Cincinnati, needs to get that win over UCF, and he'll bounce and get the tiebreaker and be in. So really important game for MacDub next week to get in that championship game. And then it looks like his opponent probably going to be Tulsa for that.
Sure.
We go to the Big 12. We already know who wrapped up the Big 12. I don't even know why we talk about it. Some guy who's in the league. It doesn't really matter. That Oklahoma team obviously is locked up at the Big 12. And that happened a while ago. So unfortunately, you can kind of see there our guy Chuckleberry towards the bottom of the league. Just had a tough year with that roster, but
no, hang on a second. Is he really wrapped it up? How many games does he have left?
He's got 2 games left.
So he could lose both of those games. It's not wrapped up yet.
He could
Let's
lose
not get
both
the
of those
cart
games.
ahead of the horse.
No, he just has the one against.
Oh, that's Chuck.
Yeah, that's Chuck. So I think he has the one this week, which is, what did I say? I think he's got to beat Kansas State and then Oklahoma State.
Let's not forget that Kansas State has beat Oklahoma the last 2 years.
It's true. That's true in real life. This isn't real life, though, as we both know. This is
hardcore. I know you're Hardcore's number one fan, but it is not wrapped up. Texas is 6-1. if they win out, and if Hardcore loses both of these
It
games,
is possible. You're right.
Yeah.
I overlooked that. I forgot they had 2 games left.
There are
So I
people
thought he had the one.
in South Carolina, in South Bend, Indiana, in Clemson, in Columbus, Ohio. There's a lot of people out there hoping that happens. So
Absolutely, and that's
Jacksonville,
that's
Florida.
where if you're a fan of chaos, that's what you want to see happen, right? I mean, because all heck breaks loose if Oklahoma loses one of those 2 games. I mean, it's just
really both. I mean, it really gets crazy if they lose both. But if they lose one, that'd shake the standings up.
Yeah, I don't know what would happen at that point. Anything is possible. Any of those top 6 teams have a shot to get in. So let's talk about that.
All right.
As we jump to the BCS standings and our possible championship scenarios as it stands right now, if everything works out to chalk and we see Oklahoma win out, we see South Carolina win out. Of course, like we just said, that's the Kansas State game and the Oklahoma State game for Oklahoma, which we would expect him not to lose. But once again, this game's anything's possible. You could definitely lose one of those 2 games, especially that big rivalry game to Oklahoma State, who we saw give Chuckleberry a heck of a game and completely blow him out.
They got the athletes. They got one of the best receivers and best running backs around. So, and it's a rivalry game. I mean, that's far from a foregone conclusion.
I completely agree. That's kind of the one I think
he does have the easiest path of all of these teams to get to the championship. I think he's got the easiest remaining path.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough for Dees as it stands now, as he's second in the standings. Dees has got to win this week at Ole Miss, which we'll see tomorrow. Or Friday. I think he plays Friday, excuse me.
Yeah, and Friday at like 3:15.
He's got, of course, that big game against Clemson, and then potentially, depending on what Alabama does that last week against Auburn, and that big rivalry game would have the SEC championship game. So he's for sure in, obviously. If he wins those 3 games, I wouldn't expect anyone to jump him at this point, him being undefeated and Oklahoma being undefeated. That's the cleanest. If you don't want chaos, that's the cleanest path to a championship game, is if those 2 teams win out.
Sure, and if Bama takes care of business with Auburn, they're going to be definitely a top 10 team. So that another top 10 win for D's. Not to mention a win over South Carolina. I mean, it's an absolute lock. There's no way someone jumps him with 2 top 10 wins down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alabama's already 6th, so in the BCS. So they're there already, even with those 2 losses in the top 10. So there's no way he's going to get jumped if he beats the number 3 team, turns around and beats what could possibly be, top, 5 or 3, even a 3 and 3rd. Yeah, you never know what they would jump up to at that point, depending on what Ohio State does. So our second scenario, which is maybe the second most likely, would be Oklahoma wins that Kansas State Oklahoma State game. Clemson beats D's in South Carolina the last game of the. Obviously, that would be that he beats BYU, which we'd expect to have happen this week, and then of course gets a big victory over Coach Bryan. No way you would think at that point he's going to get jumped if he beats the number 2 team, 3rd now. If he gets those 3 victories, he's in. It would be Oklahoma Clemson, and that would be if he beats Coach Bryan in that ACC championship game.
Yeah, now he doesn't. Obviously, the big win over South Carolina would probably be enough to seal it. But Coach Bryan being so far down in the rankings, that will hurt.
That would hurt him
in that
if he loses.
Game.
Yeah. And it's really hard. It's really hard if you lose that championship game to not fall. Right, it's the last game of the season. Somebody's going to jump you at that point.
Sure, and I mean having 2 losses would knock him out too far, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's must win out for him. I mean he can't afford a loss of any kind. But if he does win out, I mean really whoever wins the South Carolina Clemson game, as long as they don't lose their championship game, there's no way they don't get in.
Yeah, I completely agree. And those are the 2 cleanest scenarios, right? Probably is the winner of that game wins their other 2 games. Those 2 are a lock to be in if that's the way it goes down, for sure. So a third scenario, which once again I'm just going by most likely because we're expecting these 2 Oklahoma, of course, to win out, would be Ohio State probably sitting there around 4, I think. So Ohio State, we would be looking at would probably, my thought with who they have to play left on their schedule, would jump up there, and that's what they would need. Obviously, they need to win out, a big top 10 win over Michigan, and then to play Wisconsin in the championship game, get another quality win there. But they would also need, they're obviously going to get a loss from South Carolina or Clemson, so the winner loser of that's probably going to jump out. And then they need one of those two teams to lose their championship game. So
they need the winner of that game to then lose their championship.
Exactly. So if that happens, that's probably their best shot to get in the national championship game. That's not a foregone conclusion, just depending on how things shake out. But that's probably the best scenario to get them in. They really don't. That Michigan's going to help them maybe jump up a little bit, and of course they're going to jump some if they win their games here at the close. They're going to jump South Carolina or Clemson. But yeah, one of those two teams would of course have to lose out.
Right. I mean, if that happens, if South Carolina or Clemson win that head-to-head and then lose their championship game, that really eliminates both of those teams, because that extra loss for either of them would drop them out, and that's when the chaos really starts. Ohio State, I think, is the next most likely to jump up because they've got the Michigan game. They pick up a Wisconsin game in the championship. So those are two tough, highly ranked in the BCS teams for them to be able to kind of get some tailwind from. Obviously the revenge loss on that Wisconsin thing would be great for Baker to get the momentum going in. That'd be a storybook tale for him, and then get a chance to get revenge on that tournament loss against Hardcore would be a great story as well for the G12 media to try to take and run with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's better for him, obviously, if South Carolina probably loses, or probably, honestly, it's probably better if South Carolina beats Clemson, then loses, or no, I got that backwards. It's probably better if Clemson wins over South Carolina and then loses to Miami. That would give, that would probably knock them both back enough, because then Alabama potentially could get that quality win, and you don't know what's going to happen there. If Alabama potentially gets that quality win, is that going to be good enough if he beats number 2 South Carolina to hop over? And I kind of put that down here. Alabama definitely has that outshot shot. I don't want to skip that because I think Notre Dame probably has the next best shot. If Oklahoma wins out, of course.
Notre Dame has a head-to-head over Bama, which, I mean, the computer shouldn't ignore that, but
they probably will. But I would say Notre Dame probably has the 4th best opportunity if Oklahoma wins out. You're looking at win out, of course, against Stanford and Georgia Tech. The Georgia Tech game being this week, Stanford being next week, and of course he's going to get one of the 2 losses to South Carolina or Clemson, and then both of those lose their championship game, and Ohio State loses their championship game. That's probably his best bet to make it in. It's possible if Ohio State obviously doesn't have to lose just their championship game. If they lose that Michigan game and of course don't make it to the championship game, that's probably even better for him, quite honestly.
Sure.
Then he's maybe got a chance of Michigan jumping up and hopping over, but that's really unlikely. So that's probably his best bet, is for Ohio State to either lose that Michigan game, and then for it to roll out that way. I would say for him to get it in, but that's a lot of losses he's got. So
Notre Dame and Ohio State both are keeping an eye on what happens out west. Baker played Rhombus early in the season, so it behooves him for Oregon to make the championship game. Obviously, Yofi played USC and now plays Stanford, so he's probably pulling more for Stanford to come out of that mess. So I think that should not be ignored when you look at what's going on with Notre Dame and Ohio State. Whoever comes out of the West, if somehow Rhombus can get into that game and then beat Emig's head to head, and we get a Oregon champion out of the Pac-12, that would really help Ohio State, who has a head-to-head win
huge,
over Oregon.
Yeah. And so that there's too many scenarios, especially we know how this VCS works. It just gets crazy, right? So if it comes down to those 2 teams, how are those numbers going to work out? I'm not sure. I don't think anybody even knew in real life in 2014 how that would have worked. So and then of course Alabama has an outside shot. as well, I would think, with where they're at. USC potentially has an outside shot, depending how everything goes there. I mean, you just never know. But basically, you've got to see everybody lose their conference championship for either one of those teams to do it, right? So I would say Alabama has a better shot just because he's potentially playing the number 2 team in the country. So he would really need Auburn. He needs to beat Auburn, of course, and then win the championship game over South Carolina. But he needs Clemson probably to lose to South Carolina and then have an undefeated South Carolina at number 2 in the country and then defeat them. And then would need Ohio State probably to lose to Michigan, potentially, or Wisconsin, but probably more to Michigan, so they're not in that championship game and don't get a quality win over Wisconsin. And then he could potentially jump Notre Dame there if that scenario happens with a quality number 2 win over the team of the country. So that was pretty much it. Of course, if Oklahoma loses, heck breaks loose, then you're looking at maybe the winner of South Carolina and Clemson. If they win out, you could potentially see against Notre Dame, or Ohio State's probably one of those 2 teams, depending on how things shake out there, would be the most likely scenario. I would think with Oklahoma losing, they would probably jump behind one of those one-loss teams.
Well, Oklahoma losing would kill Notre Dame, right? That's that's a head-to-head. So Oklahoma losing would not only take them down, but I think would also sink Notre Dame, and then the dominoes really start falling. So, I mean, I think Hardcore is the kind of guy that appreciates the chaos. So part of me hopes that he would take a loss just to mix things up. But
I doubt that's going to happen.
I mean,
never know.
If he cared about TV ratings, he would. I mean, nobody wants to see the 1928 Yankees out there blowing everybody out. But we'll see. We'll see what he does.
Maybe he'll pull a MacDub and forget to sim his game against Oklahoma State, and the computer makes him lose. I don't know, because I think this computer really does. It hates Oklahoma if you simulate games, because Oklahoma is never very good when you're not Oklahoma. But yeah, those are basically our scenarios at this point. We'll really know more and more, obviously, after the rest of this week and after next week. It'll really start to solidify how those things break out. But Bert's was nice enough here to put up our schedule. So if you're going to want to run through that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the Baker Indiana game's gone final. We're just wrapping up the G12 show here. Tomorrow we've got EMIGS taking on Colorado. That will not be a nationally televised game. That will be more of a regional broadcast on EMIGS 21's channel. So if you're not already subscribed to EMIGS and really all of the G12, make sure you pay them some respects for the time they put in here and get them at least a follow, if not a subscription. So catch that game tomorrow on EMIGS' channel. And then we do have a couple broadcast games, 3 broadcast games. So tomorrow, 4 total games. We got Clemson against BYU. I really wish John and I were on that call so we could tell you about BYU's quarterback and his story. I hope whoever's on that call,
he's got a great story.
Make sure they cover that. And then Oklahoma against Kansas State. We're all pulling for Kansas State in that one. Notre Dame against Georgia Tech. So the star of our show was not here this week, Ramble. I don't want to go the whole show without calling out that Ramble's not here. There's somebody else that's not here today that I know I really don't miss, but I do miss Ramble not being here. So I hope that Georgia Tech, in love of Ramble, I hope Georgia Tech can get a win over Notre Dame. And then we've got Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss team against South Carolina on Friday. I'm actually on the call for that game. And then we've got Arizona and Oregon to wrap up the week late Friday night. So we are kind of going away from those weekend games now with real football going on Saturday. Hopefully everybody's able to enjoy that, and hopefully this gives you something to do during the week. So we should have things wrapped up Friday night and be running into rivalry week 14, the best week of the season. So
man,
really looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of important games next week. I don't want to look past this week, but I see a lot of dubs probably on the rest of the schedule for these guys. But like you said, hey, if you like chaos, tune into these games. see if some of these guys, we've seen it all season. Clemson's lost to the CPU. Notre Dame's come close to losing to the CPU, and Yofi, they've always been clean games.
The showman.
The showman, yes. And Oklahoma's blown everybody out. Unfortunately for us, those are all boring games. I'll be calling that game, but maybe we get an upset this week. Is this week the week that we see hardcore, pass out midstream and all of a sudden lose because he's not playing the game or something? Dees has been on a roll. Does Lane Kiffin and that offense still won? And that Oregon game is very interesting. Must win, of course, as we talked about for Oregon. And we've seen that Oregon team slip up against the CPU so far this year. A couple of times. So
yeah, for
anything
sure.
is possible.
Yeah, and he lost to the other Arizona team that he really shouldn't have lost to. So he's got to focus in, and I mean, he really had his own control of his own destiny, and I guess he still does. Oh, actually, he doesn't. He's got to win this game and still get some luck because Stanford got that head-to-head win. So Stanford's tough too. We shouldn't look past Stanford. They almost beat. I mean, Emig's had trouble. They beat Rhombus.
Yeah.
They do go to South Bend, so Yofi's got him at home, which I do still think we should look into that. It seems like every single game Yofi's played has been at home, so I don't want to call conspiracy theory on Yofi and how the league's taking care of him, but it seems like he had. I think the only road game he had all year was he went to hardcore, and we saw how that turned out. So maybe there's something there. Maybe we can not give him so much home field advantage next year, but. Hopefully Stanford can give him a tough show. So honestly, I hope Yofi gets in. My personal pick, just to wrap up the show, is I hope it's Yofi and hardcore for a rematch. I think when you talk about just the show they put on and the fans they'll draw and that kind of thing, I hope for that. So that also means that there was some serious chaos. I mean, I think hardcore is almost a foregone conclusion, and for Yofi to make it that far up, that means there's some serious chaos that goes on, and so I'm cheering for that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for that to happen, like we kind of said, that's a lot of user losses. But there are a lot of user versus user games left. We really don't know how those are going to go. We've seen D's only play one user game, so he didn't get his fair shake in the number of user games that he's playing so far this season. But by that point, he hasn't even played one to this point because he got one taken away. So. We haven't seen that. We've seen him play his brother, but so it's interesting how this is all going to shake out, and I'm really looking forward to it. It should be some good stuff to catch in the coming weeks.
For sure, I'm really excited for next week's show. Hopefully, we can do some scheduling and maybe not play so many games before the Wednesday show, or maybe we can move the Wednesday show up a couple days or something and be able to get this done. So we can get a highlight reel and some of those things. So yeah, week 14 is the biggest week of the season. So we'll kind of trickle off. We've got week 15, which is basically just hardcore, and then like the Army Navy game, and then obviously conference championship's going to be big. So we're coming down the stretch here. We've really only got probably 3 more solid weeks. We'll probably play week 15 and the conference championships in the same week. So that'll be fun.
Absolutely looking forward to it. Stay tuned, guys, because this is going to be a wild ride, and coming out and watching the show tonight for sure. It's been weird. I didn't think I'd ever be doing this, but then somehow I was just like, why not? I'm watching I thought me and Pirate are watching like every single one of these games. Why don't we just do this instead? Like, sure. You know what I'm saying? We're just dorks.
It's much healthier. It's much healthier for the league if I'm doing this than if I'm in the chat. So
that's a fair point. You're much better on the camera than you are trolling in the chat. I think everyone's.
I have a face for radio though, for sure.
We have faces for radio and voices for the newspaper, as they say. So.
Well, John, let's wrap this bad boy up. Any final thoughts?
No, man. I think it's been a fun week so far. The most thing I'm excited about is Bert getting that win this week. It's great to see how much work he puts into it, and for him to get that victory. So go Bert, man. Shout out to him to finally get back on that winning track. I don't know who they pick next year. I think they might have already done that. I hope to God he doesn't have Nebraska. I don't know why he picked Nebraska. Of all the teams in the Big Ten he could have chosen in that division,
Even
he
the
picked
Big Ten
Nebraska.
West, right? Yeah,
I mean, all of those teams he could have chosen, and he picked Nebraska. I'll never understand it, but he did it, and he went for it, and it was a terrible failure. And I know he wanted to quit with Nebraska this entire season, so he was definitely advocating to restart the sucker come the spring. And yeah, looking forward to it, man. That was the most exciting thing we've seen this week, and it's not over yet.
Yeah, all I'm focused on now is that Rhombus took Florida, so he's going to be getting an earful of coaching every week. He's got some alumni that are going to be some big boosters. They're going to be wanting a lot of attention, and it's going to be rough for Rhombus. He better perform.
I don't
the
think
noise is going to get loud.
I don't think he thought that through when he picked Florida, but because I would have never picked them. The fans that are in this community. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, John, for joining me, and thanks all of you. We had pretty solid 20-plus viewers all night, so hope everybody enjoyed it, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for a solid schedule of 4 games.
Yeah, absolutely, and we didn't shout it out, but thanks for D's for the sub in there. I don't think we said that. And we didn't catch, I think it was Drew who gave us a follow before we got kicking, so we appreciate the follow. Like Pirate said, make sure if you're not following all these guys, first off, why are you not following all these guys in their own streams? These all 12 of these guys who stream do a great job, and it's fun to watch them. So shout out to those guys and go give them a follow, give them some love, and we appreciate you guys tonight.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Warning. 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 G12 is in the motherfucking building.